Before we start the show, we just want to let you know that we're part of the Bard Rock Network, sponsored by Dragon Master Games. Dragon Master Games is a local game store with an online storefront where you can get TTRPG products and collectibles, including trading cards. Just go to their website in the show notes and write in the comments that Bard Rock Network sent you. You can also support the network by subscribing to our Patreon or Ko-fi to access network-wide bonus content, get shout-outs on network shows, receive network swag, and even get invited to our several annual community game nights. Anyway, on with the show.
Welcome to College of Whispers, the actual playbook club. I'm Marty, and I am joined by my co-host, Vicky.
Hello.
Welcome to the episode for February 2024. Our guests this month are the whole cast of Magic Isn't Real.
Woo!
Hi.
We're here.
We got everybody. We got everybody today. We got a full cast going on. We've never had this many people on a single episode of the podcast before, so we're gonna see how it goes.
Especially not this many people on two microphones.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Oh, if only you guys could see, we're all cuddled up here, all nice and good.
Yeah, we
Turn I
tried
can.
to make it about as difficult as possible as we could for y'all today,
And
so
I
we're happy
did
to be
pretty
here.
well making
Yeah,
it
technical difficulties aside, we've already had a lovely conversation before we even started recording. So there's nothing really left to talk about. We're just here to say
That's
hi
it.
and
Yeah.
goodbye.
Yeah, that's it. Goodbye.
Sorry, audience.
Well, we'll see you next week.
Yeah, bye.
This is-
It was really nice meeting you guys.
So, okay, a little bit of intro information for Magic Isn't Real. This podcast is a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition actual play show, starring Dustin Parsons as the GM, Christian Contreras as Brandon Rodriguez. I can't do the rolled R.
Rodriguez.
Rodriguez. Jonah Pfeiffer as Ted Vardaman, and Kayla Temshiv as Parker Henley. The original premiere date that I have listed for Magic Isn't Real is April 17th, 2023. There are 20 main campaign episodes at the time of recording. You guys just put out an episode this week when we recorded, and it threw off all my numbers.
Sorry.
How rude.
The average runtime of a main campaign episode of Magic Isn't Real is 1 hour and 19 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, is it?
I go through like every show, at least get through the episodes that I have the time to listen to, and I will like do the math and like add everything together and then like average it out. And I have like a little running leaderboard of average runtime.
How do we stack up?
I was going to say, where are we?
You guys are.
We're going to be
Oh
last
god,
place.
this isn't in any order. You guys are not in last place. You guys are in pretty much in the middle. Yeah, we got.
Yes.
Woo!
You guys
Average
are-
podcast.
Thoroughly
I love
mediocre.
Yeah, you guys are pretty much like in the dead average because we have a 1 hour and 17 minute show. We have a 1 hour and 18 minute show. We have a 114. We have 117. A 3 hour and 28 minute one.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Good grief.
So we are so glad to have you guys here. It's been quite the experience to listen to you guys. You're kind of our newest kids on the block, I think.
Yeah, it still feels like we just started a couple months ago.
We're little babies.
Hell yeah.
Barely a year old.
I know. Sometimes it doesn't even. I forget that like we are a podcast. Like, when I listen back to us, I was like, man, who's that handsome man playing Brandon Rodriguez?
Who's that?
Wait a minute.
He's handsome.
Wait a
He's
minute.
conscientious. He's succulent. Who is he?
And he's so humble too.
Yeah,
So
so humble.
I listened to mine. I'm like, man, this guy knows a lot about pro wrestling.
Yes.
He's a real expert in this field.
This guy knows what's up. So, first things first, I want to ask, what was the sort of inciting incident that caused you guys down the path that you're on now with Magic Isn't Real?
I mean,
Yikes.
it's kind of my fault
Yeah.
because I got really into actual play podcasts. and I was just so inspired, and I love Dungeons and Dragons, and I was like, Dustin, you could totally like DM an actual play podcast.
Oh no.
And Dustin was like, I don't know, it seems like a lot of work. And I was like, no, but you'd be so good at it. That was like a year ago. So I bullied Dustin into it. And we scooped the boys along the way.
That y'all did scoop us up real quick. Or I think was it you, Jonah?
Yeah, Dustin and Kayla reached out to me after they came up with the idea for Magic Isn't Real and asked if I would play, and I was very happy to oblige, help out my old buddies. But they asked for another person as well, so I pulled Christian out of my current D&D group and was like, this guy knows how to say some words that are cool. So they ended up hitting it off after meeting and hanging out a couple times, and the rest has occurred in short order.
Yeah, I was gonna say I knew I could add so much to the podcast.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. No, but in real talk, I felt very honored that they would even reach out to me for it, because I have not been playing D&D for very long, and I know Jonah's like super into it, and I know he talked about you guys before, about how you guys played together. So it was a little intimidating when I got the invitation to jump on board, but I'm very glad I did.
I will say, I'm surprised that you guys even accepted the invitation, because Jonah made it sound like we came to him with, this is a podcast, this is called Magic Isn't Real, it's going to be a real-time playing D&D podcast, and I just said, hey, we got a show, we don't have a title, I have a limited briefing of what it is without any spoilers, because I have like a whole show Bible that I've presented.
Don't say limited briefing. Dustin made a PowerPoint presentation and pitched it to Jonah. It was like, this is the world I've come up with. It's set in Foster, Rhode Island. He had all these ideas. Dustin like came out the gate swinging.
That sounds amazing.
But Christian, no, he got nothing.
Yeah, I got absolutely nothing. I literally, I think, what was it, like our session 0, I went in, well, it wasn't even session 0.
No, you came over for session 0. You're like, I kind of want to play like the football kid. And we're like, yeah, it sounds good. And then we recorded our session 0.
Yeah, that was all I had. They were like, it's a high school, there's D&D elements in it. And I was like, okay, cool, I want to be the football player. And we went from there.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
It's crazy writing a campaign without the characters in front of me first, because that's usually how I write for, like, you know, a non-performative, is I have all of the characters' wants, their desires, their super objectives, their abilities, and then I can morph a world around that. But with this, it's like, here is the world and other inhabiting worlds around it. Now let's see how they play in it. And it's just been sort of light tweaking to the show Bible, but it's still coming across very, very well, and I'm really excited to see where it goes.
I will say I was very impressed by, so background, I found you guys on TikTok just doing a skit, and this was, around the time that I was conceptualizing this show, and I said, you know what, they're new too. Maybe I'll reach out to them and see if they want to come talk about their show once they get, some episodes released. So I, had the basic idea of what the premise was. And then I actually listened to the show, and I was like, whoa, this is, like, much more in-depth than I thought it was going to be. And it took such a crazy turn. And so I will say the world building has been incredible. I love the characters. You guys are off to a fantastic start.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we really
Of
appreciate
course.
that.
There's a moment in episode 4, and I'm going to go as spoiler light as possible, but there's some role play in that episode that I wouldn't expect from a new podcast. That's something that I would expect from a show that has like 50 to 60 episodes under their belt already. So
I gotta ask, can you, in the vaguest terms possible, what moment are you talking about?
I feel like it's
it was
Oh, the creek wasn't until like 5 or 6.
it was before the creek. It was after you guys got off I can't remember the name of the planet, but
Preston.
yes.
Oh,
Mhm.
when we're
when you guys get back.
recapping.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That was
Wow, yeah.
That was a while ago.
Early on.
It's been great watching specifically you two. You boys I've picked up from like a non-acting background. I mean, I know like we've done stuff in like high school theater scenes, but seeing you guys come out of your shells with an improv environment, you guys said, I think around like episode like 6 or 7, you guys I think it was Jonah who said, it's just crazy to see D&D being played in a different way, and it's still just as enjoyable, or something along those lines.
Nice.
It made me just super, super happy to see that everyone is really gelling and we're really coming into our own.
Yeah, like there can be a lot of mental pressure to obviously perform when things are going to be presented to an audience and edited down and distilled, and that can sometimes get in the way of just enjoying what you're doing. Playing D&D is the core of it. But yeah, once we got into our characters and settled, around that episode 3, 4, 5 mark, it was finally, that weight kind of lifts and you can just have a good time while you're playing. And I'm just happy that other folks seem to enjoy it as well.
Yeah, no, this for me has been very new because again, I played with Jonah with like another group of friends, and it was very much, it wasn't a lot of role play per se as we're doing on here, but there was some of it, and with you guys all having a like theater background, it was also very intimidating because I was like, oh, these guys are professional, they know what they're doing, and then I found out they didn't know what they were doing, so then it made me ease up a little bit. No, but it has been very enjoyable, and it has taken me out of my shell of being able to like talk and perform in front of an audience aside from just just me and a little close-ended with friends, and we're just having a good time now. Now I'm having a good time, and then people are talking about them having a good time, which makes me have an even better time. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I do think I know what moment you're talking about in episode 4. And that was hard because we had this conversation as our characters, and then we finished the session, and I went, okay, how do we move the show forward from here?
What do we do now, right?
Yeah, because sometimes you reach a point in a hero's journey where it's like, oh, we should quit and go home. Where, like, things are really bad.
Yeah.
We should leave.
Yeah.
And getting to grapple with that moment as a team was really rewarding and also, like, fun and nerve-wracking. So that when we went forward, it was like, okay, how do we take the atrocities of episode 4 and keep pushing as a team? So yeah, shout out to episode 4. Big fan.
Big fan.
Big fan.
I've heard of getting episode 2. I have not heard of getting episode 4, and I was not prepared.
Starting here.
And you guys do also episode 2 us. So like,
Yes.
Get ready for, like, what is it, episode 17? Every, like, 4, then 10, then whatever, Dustin decides to completely flip the script on us in just insane ways. And it's fun. It keeps us on our toes.
It's all because of Mrs. Tachansky, I think. I think because you guys said, all right, we're going to play with Dustin, I'm like, all right, right back at you. Let's keep you on your toes.
play.
I like it.
It's a
What's
really
fair
nice
for you is fair for me.
relationship I think we have.
Yeah,
with the
exactly.
player.
I will say it is very good for like keeping an audience engaged. The amount of just things that you will just drop that completely shift like the whole paradigm of the show and how the characters are supposed to react to stuff and what's actually going on. And like I only ended up making it to I want to say episode 11 in my listen through before we talked, and there've been so many moments where I'm just like, what? Huh?
Yeah.
That's so crazy because I feel like episode 14 drastically changes our group dynamic. Or episode 13 for the boys and then episode 14 for me. It just keeps going. It just keeps getting crazier.
Oh, is that the party?
13's the party. 14
Yeah.
is part 2 of the party.
The morning after.
The morning after is.
The
Which-
morning after is always
Anyway, if you have to ask about the titles, it's all Kayla, and then we just vote on which one was the best.
rough. Yeah, so
It's always Kayla.
you can blame them for that one.
That's true. I'm out here pitching puns.
A lot of you said something about dropping information and then it changes everything as far as we know it. I think a lot of that has to do with the in terms of a D&D layout of a DM's notes. The mentor in this situation is Colin, someone who has been trying to fix the world but can't due to their limited skill and expertise. But then they bring in group after group on who can, and then he just has to drop information that he's already dropped a couple times, and it's crazy to see how quickly they can pick up on things. You're fine. You can pick it up.
It's like, sorry.
We got a thumbs down in the chat.
Yeah, no, sorry. It's just every time we record something, Jonah's messing with something, and he always drops it. Every
We've all
single
got our
time.
fidgets.
It's part of the visual gags.
It's just
As
really
always.
rewarding to see how that information is dropped, and then they have to soak it in. And then now, not to spoil anything with the most recent episode that came out this week, someone new has joined the party, and now the players are dropping information they've had to drop a couple times to this new person, and it's like the relationship is being passed down, the mantle is being passed, and it's really, really just rewarding as a DM to see them doing that on their own.
I really enjoyed Colin as he the episodes progressed, just because it was like, man, they really don't like this guy.
No.
And it's like, how are they ever gonna work with him in any capacity? They just dislike him so
The fact that
intensely.
You say you appreciate him, and that's the first time that's ever touched my ears. Oh, that's bliss.
He's just a good narrative device
Exactly.
He's
I
just
mean,
a
you're
good
right.
narrative punching bag.
I've been nice to Colin. For the record, Parker has also been really mean to Colin, but she's been nice to Colin on occasions.
On occasions, yeah.
Just like a couple times.
Maybe.
Yeah. I have been known before, like, doing this professionally in terms of, like, just random D&D. I do a lot of the mentor is often a shithead. Like, it's often someone nobody really likes. However, this is the call to adventure. And learning to love someone so trivial is kind of my bread and butter, because the more that I look in, like, the world that we live in, not everybody is the happy-go-lucky mentor that I usually see in tabletop RPGs. Where, come on, we have to go on an adventure! We gotta save the princess! And I'm just like, that's not real to me. That's not something I've experienced. So I like bringing real characters to life and observing how even the people who you don't perceive as good can often lead you to good places.
I think it kind of rounds them out as a character rather than just a plot device. Here's somebody who's going to tell you information. You've kind of created an entire character with a backstory and with a personality.
So much backstory, too much actually.
I do have to throw some roses at your feet for the NPCs and the voices that you do for them.
Yes.
Very top-notch voice work,
I appreciate
good
it.
characters. I just got to throw a few roses at your feet.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been lacking in those lately as the show progresses, just because of how heavy the editing load has been. I've had less time to prep, so when I say it's an improv environment, it's really starting to become an improv environment. It's just like Himbledy Bibble, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know his name.
Steve Scrunkle.
What was that, Steve?
Yeah, write that one down. Write down.
No, Dustin does not give himself enough props for the sheer amount of voice work. This man will make us all deeply uncomfortable when we meet a new NPC because they'll sound terrifying. And we're like, oh, great. Awesome.
But it's still my face. You know, I just got up, my head's bedheaded, I've got my nerdy glasses on, and then I'll be like, you're not going to escape this realm.
Yeah, no.
Like,
Oh my.
Yeah, oh my, indeed.
I've been really concerned that people think I modulate my voice, but it kind of makes me happy when people do think that, because I'm like, yeah, no, sure, it's modulation.
You've put like an echo.
I add
That's like
echo and reverb, but other
Wow, way to kill the immersion there.
Sorry, that's my bad. That's my bad. I meant it more of like the only thing you do is add echo. That's my bad.
You mean you're not doing that live on your own?
Actually, I'm behind
I have
Dustin whispering
a
the
big
entire
cup
time.
that's right here, and it just goes into the cup and echoes back to the mic. Yeah, it's actually very great Foley work, if I do say so
We're
myself.
all practical effects here at Magic Isn't Real.
I take great pleasure in trying to make sound effects that I know will just be edited out and replaced with sound effects.
I've been starting to edit over those, though, because you'll do it where you're like, when you're taking off the latex armor and you're like just making the sound for it.
I'll do all my little animal noises. As a druid, I'm like, I turn into a rabbit, and I'm like, up in the mic, and Dustin's like, I can put a sound effect.
What sound effects do rabbits make, though? That's the only thing.
It's just
You should see. I did our whole our mini. We did a spooky special, and there were a lot of bat noises, and you just hear me in the room going like every time.
Just an hour and a half straight of that.
Straight up bat noises.
We don't deserve any better.
So if you can't tell, we're really hard on ourselves over here.
100% for sure.
So I am on your guys' Discord.
Yes.
And you guys just announced recently that you've added some new faces to the team.
Yeah.
We did.
You made the announcement. You want to go into it?
Sure. Yeah, so just to brag on Dustin more, Dustin, on top of writing the show, also edits the show and does all the sound effects, which, believe it or not, is a freaking ton of work.
Yeah.
And we want to provide a consistent release schedule because we have such a wonderful listening audience, and we've got like this amazing group of patrons, and we want to be able to give that to them. So we found two people that I went to high school with who are massive fans of the show and offered their editing services. So now we've got Brendan Rex and Josue Campos who are doing additional editing for us. And they've been absolutely wonderful. We're 4 people talking at the same time, making goofs and gaffes at each other. So we're not the easiest people to edit for. And we brought them onto the team, and they've been absolutely wonderful. And we're really hopeful that with their help, we can release episodes more consistently and produce more content.
Goated. Absolutely goated, guys.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Christian.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, that's true.
Sometimes I just have a way with words. That
Yeah.
just kinda
No,
Your
you know what?
adjectives are impeccable.
I'm not going to even give the announcement next time. We're just going to pivot to Christian. He'll say one word, and
Honestly,
you guys
it's
will
really
get
dope. Really, really
yeah,
cool
I'm
work,
just gonna
guys.
say cool, and then it's just over.
It's going so well over here.
About the editors themselves. They all have like a background in like either media or podcasting themselves. I know one of them worked for a podcast while they were in college, but it was more informational. The way that we go about telling information is constantly like this. But then we have us around here just, everyone's screaming and yelling and rolling dice. Fuck! Another one! And then I'm like, yeah, can you edit that for me? And he's like, yeah. Is this what you want? And it's just been a really hard editing curve I can see, because I can tell that we are not the most professional podcast out there. However, we have the most fun, and I can't really change that. I can't really trade that for anything. Truly, working with you guys is a blessing, and I'm really happy to do it each and every week.
No.
Gross.
I
It's
know,
like you
dude.
like
So
us.
much-
The one time I'm going to say that, okay? Keep that, record it, set it to my ringtone.
Hey folks, we just want to take a break from the action to let you know how you can support the show. As a part of Bard Rock Network, you can support us through a number of affiliate programs, where a portion of your order goes to support the network. Everyone loves dice, right? FanRoll Dice can make dice of all shapes and sizes, as well as accessories like trays, bags, and towers. Or maybe you want to take better campaign notes. Just check out Minva RPG and look at their assortment of campaign journals and tools. Finally, you can level up your game night with tea or coffee from Many Worlds Tavern. In addition to delicious tea and coffee, they have stickers, tokens for your favorite trading card games, and playmats. Qualifying orders even come with free dice. All of those affiliate links can be found in the show notes, and you just need to use the code BardRockCafe at checkout to save on your order.
Most folks don't realize it, but the world is ripe with monsters. And when you have a monster problem, you need someone who is smart,
I came over here, I saw that there was a crime scene, I figured, I'd park here on the
crime scene, brave,
It's just not our fight. We just honk the horn, everybody dissipates, and we just ride away.
and qualified.
If nobody is going to assist David with this, he is going to pull out his nunchucks.
Who gave him those nunchucks?
Van Helmen's family is none of those things, but they're the best we've got, so check them out on Monster Cafe, available now wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
watching Elimination Chamber this weekend?
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry. Yeah, we're definitely consistent in our inconsistencies.
Yeah. It's part of the charm. It's part of the charm.
If I can ask a question and just dive in while Marty's having a look, it's more about the world building, because not only do you have one D&D world, you have 2 worlds. And I'm just wondering how that came about, because you were essentially handed a podcast idea, and where that came from and how you started with how you got to 2 worlds and more.
I started writing Magic Isn't Real as a game, not a podcast, and I started off with string theory and the way that one path can cause an entire world to create a different set of circumstances, a different set of biological life forms, and how we might be one of many alternate universes. And I was just really obsessed with that, being a creative writer and someone who wants to be in media and TV. I really just started delving down into this, writing like each individual world. I think what was the first world they got to? Finadale was one of the first ones I wrote, where like I wanted to create a race of people in D&D that are not D&D coded. I wanted them to be more like Avatar, not the Last Airbender, but the blue people. And I wanted to be able to take my players, especially because I know everyone here is a little bit seasoned in D&D, and everybody, at least in my time, I've been playing for like 14 years, and it's been crazy to see how nothing gets different, and there's no big change. So I want to create places that these people will go to, and they'll be able to interact with fully, and to the no railroading at all. Well, I shouldn't say that. I say that now, and then we're going to get people in the Discord like, Dustin.
No, you do give us
actually
a ton of options.
Exactly. I think that's my biggest thing in D&D, is to let the players have their own agency and go to whatever world they want to do. And I think that sort of started to branch off into, it started out as there is the real world and the D&D world, and then I started learning more about alternate universe theory and string theory and all that, and I said, well, maybe we could just live in the infinite, and whatever world we need for that situation, we can pull. And it's been really, really fun, because every week is what world are they going to next, as opposed to let's build off what we already have, which could be good, and I'm losing a lot of narrative power in that situation, but it's really nice to be able to let everybody think on their feet and discover each and every week.
I will say it is really cool and very unique, because sometimes when we go into a new world, it almost feels like we're starting over again. It almost feels like, oh, we got to learn about this world before we go in and deep dive into it. Kind of like we did with Finadale when we first started.
Yeah, with Finadale and with Priston, the second world we go to. With Finadale, we really, really get thrown right into it. But with Priston, you get to see all of us kind of navigate, like, all right, Dustin's come up with this place. And we are seeing it in our mind's eye. And we need to figure out how to blend in. And immediately we all just start lying to NPCs and just being ridiculous. And I'm like, I'm 45 and I'm clearly a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And, Jonah is Ted, dons a whole disguise, and then you've got Brandon who's like, oh my god, just be normal for once in your life. And Dustin here gets to just create this world for us to play in and figure out, and it's kind of like a really fun puzzle. I'm a puzzle person, and I think it's become a puzzle of every place Dustin makes for us. It's like, okay, how do we fit in here? What do we do to acclimate to the world that he's gifted us?
Yeah. I sometimes forget that you are actually 14 years old in the show. Like,
Me too.
Oh yeah, they're 14.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm a child. Christian gets to play. You're 17, right?
I'm 17, baby.
Yeah, and then Ted's 15.
15, so acts older than the 17-year-old and is in reality emotionally.
I think 15 is the age, like, at least for me, where I'm like, oh, I'm an adult now. Yeah.
Yeah,
I go
100%.
to a restaurant, they hand me the big kid menu because I'm a fucking adult.
Yeah.
And I'm recognized as such.
And I call it the big kid menu.
And I call it the
It has nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. It is.
Sometimes we'll make choices, and namely in, I want to say it's episode 16, there's a choice that's made, and we all discussed afterwards, and I'm like, we're 14. We're 15. We're 17. We make bad choices.
Yeah.
We're playing teenagers. We've got to be truthful to that. And sometimes I do stuff and I'm like, Kayla, know this is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
But I am playing a 14-year-old girl and life is hard.
Yeah.
And this is what
Yeah.
she's going to do. Which is so fun. So fun.
That is good to know that like you guys are trying to be true to like being teenagers, because that was something when I first started my listen through. I was like, okay, they're doing a high school setting, kind of, almost isekai anime style thing
Very
with
much so.
teenagers.
What? We get isekai'd so hard.
How are they gonna be able to play these characters effectively, knowing that they're teenagers in high school doing all this stuff? And I do have to say, you guys have been doing a great job.
I know there's been a lot of choices, especially I think Kayla makes the most like rational choices, as in, I'm a 14-year-old girl. This is how 14-year-old girls act. And she will like make the worst decision just to keep her character in character.
I will commit so hard to the bit. I will. But I'm also playing a 14-year-old who was raised by her grandparents. So it's a special kind of age. But yeah, anything for the bit. Anything for the bit. It's hard to be 14.
There's always like you hear the horror stories of like, oh, this is what my character would do, but like actually doing it and meaning it earnestly, and it for the good of like either just a like at home game or an actual play, doing it effectively is always a good sign of a good show.
No.
No, please cut that.
Please, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah,
this is why our runtime is only an hour and 19 minutes. Me yelling, please cut that.
Please cut that. Please cut that right now.
Yeah, we actually do like 4-hour sessions.
Wow.
There's a whole other character you didn't see. There's like 3 other BBGs.
Yeah.
We went to an entire world, decided, no, cut that.
I think the only time we've done anything, there was one time when I solved a puzzle too fast.
Oh.
And we did go back and re-record that I had done a worst job solving that puzzle. And then there was one time we lost 30 minutes of audio and had to re-record that.
I think truly that became a really good episode. At the time, I was the most pissed. I was the one who was upset. And then everybody, I knew when Jonah was trying to pull me back in and Jonah was trying to keep a positive outlook is when I was like, maybe I shouldn't be upset. Maybe I really should. Maybe I really should just take this more seriously.
Damn.
Less seriously. I mean, Jonah, come on.
Well known to be the positive voice of the group.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's Jonah Pfeiffer.
Oh my god.
I think we really do have a great relationship because at every table there's going to be players versus DM. That's always going to happen no matter what. But we have created such a good environment of players versus DM, but also at times it has to be players with the story. And what can we do that is going to be effectively impacting the story, but is also true to the character and also kind of flips a middle finger to Dustin. And, that happens, and I've seen many of them. I think it's it's a part of the aspect of the game that I truly do enjoy. I play the victim so fucking well.
You get me back, though, because I run a 2-shot, and Dustin is absolutely feral. Dustin's like, anytime you have wronged me in the game, I will exact revenge.
I think my favorite point was in 5 minutes of it. You were like, there's a magical street. It's like a normal, like, modern-day place, but it's like, there's like, is that a bird? Is it a griffin? And I'm like, oh, it's like I'm there, babe. And you were like, okay.
So brutal. There's a reason I don't DM. There's a reason.
It's such a well-documented thing, having, like, an established DM and players in a show, and then you take that DM out of the seat and just put them on the other side of the table, and they just lose it. They just go nuts, and it's always so fun.
It was phenomenal. Yeah, Dustin's like, why are you doing this? I'm like, look at episode 2, look at episode 4, look at episode 16, look at episode 17.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like, this is on you, bro.
This is your
You're
fault.
right. You're right. You're always right, dear.
Yes, thank you, darling.
But it's I've noticed I've become such a terrible player the more I DM, because I constantly feel like I'm taking up too much spotlight. I shouldn't be speaking right now. I shouldn't assume what the world is. But that's everything that I recommend these 3 do all the time. I'm like, this world, use it. Take it. If you assume something, I'm going to go with it. I think the more I DM, the worse player I am, but it's truly just a journey. And I'm only, 23? I can still learn as a player, but I think DMing is kind of the place where I am a more creative advocate as opposed to putting myself down. And I think it's really nice to find the happy medium in between.
And you know what I think I find the most fun, like, about playing with you guys is, especially with Dustin, because sometimes me and Dustin will just kind of throw an idea up in the air, and then, like, we won't even talk about it for, like, 2 episodes, and then he'll just throw it at me, and I'll have to just roll with it, and then I'll say something out of pocket, then he'll just roll with it, and I think it's just some of the most fun that I think I have playing.
The 2 of y'all, your chemistry, your storytelling chemistry is insane.
There's like 3 situations I can pull out of my back pocket
Exactly.
that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, you'll send me a text and you're like, is this okay? And I'm like, yeah, fucking go with it. Do it.
Yeah, and then I won't hear about it for like a week or 2, and then it'll just pop up.
No, you give me seeds and I let them sit. I let them grow. I think that's the best fucking part. We have so much time, so many episodes to go.
Yeah, me and Jonah are like, let's go shopping and not buy any of the tools that we actually need for the adventure.
Shit, I could have bought armor. Fuck.
Yeah.
Bring back the steel chair.
Oh, I get some
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Like episode 3, you got a chair and you brought it somewhere, and I'm like, where is? I made mechanics for that.
To be fair, things got real bad real fast.
True,
R.I.P.
you guys had a
the
lot
chair.
bigger stuff to worry
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
I don't think I have chair proficiency anyway.
So sad.
I think you guys have done a very good job of keeping your characters out of harm's way, truly. I love... I feel like I'm a more nice DM in the sense of I'm not going to TPK any party I run with. I feel like there's a lot of DMs that will throw the biggest encounters at them because I want to see a big epic fight, and I'm just going to sit and watch because I'm the god just watching over this planet. But I feel like I'm more nurturing than I should be most times, and I want to nip that.
You're trying to make
You
up for
guys
episode
take
2.
I was going to say,
think
says the
so.
person
I
that
think
kills
just
me
having
off in
PTSD.
episode 2. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's probably what it is. I don't know. I think I've messed with my own head in that regard. But you guys, I feel like really know when it's a time to run versus a time to fight, and I just really appreciate that as a group.
Yeah, I will say, I think now that we were talking about it, episode 2 was so funny, and that's one of those ones that I will always remember, because I still remember like when I rolled my last death save, and I looked around the table, and everyone was just standing there being like, what do we do? Do we re-record? like, do we stop? Like,
Yeah, major spoilers for episode 2, but we almost had to stop the podcast.
Yeah.
And I said no because that's a lot of work.
Yep.
So
you guys,
So we made it
Brandon
work.
lives because we were too lazy to redo it.
Oh my god,
Lives up.
spoilers!
Sorry.
Sorry, we're going on our own tangents. What did you ask?
Yeah, for real. We're completely just taking over.
To be fair, I was listening to episode 2 and I was like, there's no way. I can hear the panic rising in everybody's voices
I know.
as
I
it's
was
starting
like,
to
what is
roll
happening
really
right
badly.
now?
And I'm like, this could go wrong.
I'm like, they're not getting their abilities. What the fuck did I do? Did I set it too high? I can't go back now.
Oh.
No, I got real life mad at Dustin. I was like, we're level 1! You
Yeah.
threw too many monsters at us!
That's true. Level 1 D&D is just a mess.
It is.
I
99%
agree.
of
I
the
hate
time.
level 1.
It would have been fine if I could have healed anyone successfully. Unfortunately, that's on me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Episode 2 was just all Kayla's fault.
Yeah, that's
all
on
it
me.
was.
Wow.
Which is what it all comes down to at the end of the day, I think.
I never usually like to start at level 1. at least level 2, but still, that's not a place where I love to start from unless they're like new players. But I felt it was really necessary for these characters to grow in that regard, and I do not regret it, even though I was really worried about it. You guys are playing it off very well.
And I think you guys got through those introductory levels in kind of, short order, and it was, it was narratively like it had to be where you guys started from the bottom, and you didn't linger there too long. I know some other shows that I've listened to, they're level 1 for like 15, 16 episodes, and it's like
could never.
I had like 5 hit points. I think I started with 7 hit points. Like, I fell and almost died in the first episode.
Yeah, literally. First roll.
Yep.
Yeah, I was like, Parker coughs up blood, I guess, because I have 1 hit point left.
Yeah.
I think we could have stayed longer. However, I don't believe in myself as a DM to be able to not kill you guys again and again and again at level 1. Just because the monsters you can throw at level 1 people is very minimal. I truly believe that getting your abilities raises you to level 2 almost immediately. And that's the thing with Milestone versus XP is like what interactions gain you a level up versus, oh, you killed this many goblins? Great. Cool. Level up within 2 sessions. I'm really upset at how slow you're leveling right now, but it's, as I'm re-listening and watching through, I think it's really necessary that you guys build off of what you already have. I think it's great to see your guys' abilities evolve slowly, even though it's not as slow as, like you said, other podcasts.
Yeah, I think we're level 6 now.
Officially right now, after recording episode 22.
Yeah.
I was going to say level 20, you was talking about level 5, so I assume it's a level up at some point.
22, be on the lookout, it's rough.
You know
they earned their level up.
You know what's the crazy part about that though is because I know you guys were so excited to level up to get y'all like more magic in with you guys, but me playing a martial kind of just like, well, he could just give me a pretty sword and I'll be okay.
Right. When I'm playing like early martial classes, I'm always like, just get me to level 5. Just get me to level 5. I just want that extra attack.
Yes,
so bad.
the extra attack. You get it.
It was terrible because when we leveled up to level 5, Brandon's boost was so massive. And I mean, no spoilers, but it became directly an inconvenience for me personally. And I was like, oh gosh, why are barbarians so strong at level 5? I'm like, I just got more spell slots, I guess. But it works
getting
out.
that whole extra attack action is just like amazing. It opens up the floodgates for just damage city.
It is. Do not sleep on the freaking martial classes.
No.
Yeah, Christian's our resident hand-to-hand combat guy.
I will stand martial classes till the end of time.
I think you've played a warlock once before.
I played one warlock, and then I used most of his spells to actually do martial fighting. So.
Yeah.
Never understand.
I know a lot of warlocks who go for the Pact of the Blade or something and just use the blade. They don't use the spell slots, they just use the blade.
What spell slots? You're talking about
exactly.
warlock.
You only get 2.
Were you Pact of the Blade?
I was Pact of the Blade.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
I was like, if you went tome, I will shit right now. No way.
Canonically,
I don't need spell slots for Eldritch Blast. Are you kidding me?
Eldritch Blast.
Agonizing Blast. Just level it up, dude.
Now, I have had in my possession one weapon the entire series. I never used it, and I just gave it away.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. So I'm the exact opposite.
We haven't gotten to the big giveaway yet, though. That's hopefully next week gets posted.
I'm still crying over that.
Ooh.
Oh, I remembered what it was.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, talking in the future here.
Didn't mean to get us off again, but...
Well, let's see. If that comes out next week, we also come out next week. So,
and you have time. Listen to all 20 episodes of Magic Isn't Real.
I'm trying to do a better job of like telling our audience like what is next, so they can listen along with us and like have, some knowledge of the show when they come in to listen to us talk about it.
I don't know if we ever actually said like the crux of the biscuit when it comes to our show, but really it's like
the what of the what now?
The crux of the biscuit, dude. No, like Our show is about high schoolers that end up with magic and infinitely more responsibility than any high schooler should be prepared for. And then we just get isekai'd over and over and over again. And it's real fun. I'd like to think we're real different. And there's...
Jeez, me too.
Yeah, I know. There's something endearing about watching people realize with such a finality that magic is in fact real. Because we're not playing, adventurers. We're not playing people in a world where magic makes sense. We're literally high schoolers. And first day of school goes freaking crazy. And that's that's our whole deal.
Yeah, the fact that all of, I want to say the first 5 or 6 episodes happen within the first week of the school year.
Oh yeah.
Parker's got to be is this what high school is supposed to be like? Having just no frame of reference at all.
The movies.
I think I say it at the end of episode 1 or episode 2. I'm high school is freaking crazy.
Yeah.
Yes. She does.
Is this what joining an after-school activity is like?
Cue the anime outro.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, now that we're talking about the early episodes, I'm very curious. Do you guys found anything that we did in those episodes to be kind of frustrating from the beginning aspect? I want to see maybe we made a bad decision as a as a player, or is there something that you were we could have easily have solved that had they just said something else?
You guys have been very nice. Dig into us.
Yeah.
Well, I will say I have a bone to pick with one Dustin.
Oh, okay.
And this will be covered
Literally next episode. It's being covered.
Literally next episode. So in the same week that our episode comes out, you guys have the extra credit segment at the start of every episode, which I think is so fun. Just having a little mini game at the start of the game. Very good addition that you don't see in a lot of just actual play shows, but you owe Jonah a point. Because battle axes are, in fact, versatile weapons.
Absolutely do.
The word of the day is vindication.
Yeah, no, I totally do. And I think because it was still the early stage. Like you said, episode 4, I was still really nervous every time. And I was still I gotta be the DM, the big guy at the other end of the table. And I gotta be iron fist with this, and I wrote down the correct answer, and I'm that's the correct answer. If they don't say that, that's not correct. And I simply got it wrong because, unlike Christian, I play casters mostly. And going back to the equipment aspect, something I haven't, seen the textbook for in years. Right. I just let that thing slip, and I definitely do owe Jonah another point of inspiration.
Well, the only reason I caught it is because in a game that I'm playing right now, I'm playing a paladin that has a battle axe, and when you were it's not versatile, I'm
Totally.
Yes it is, actually. So I finally got my, that was my first real, actually moment as a D&D player.
It feels good, doesn't it?
It did for a minute, and then I said it in the Discord, and I was they're gonna not like me
No.
because I'm gonna go through and fact check all these now because I have power.
Read us for Phil,
please. I've been waiting for I think I said it to Kayla the other day of just when this does, because I have no doubt that this could go on for a long time. But if this does eventually reach a larger audience, see the Reddit posts of, wait, why did Dustin say blank? That's not at all how rules is written, or whatever, because I truly feel I play a lot of homebrew and a lot of rule of cool. If this is how it has to be just to make that effect happen, sure. And I'm just waiting for the flood of comments of well, that's not how spell actually works. And I understand, because like I said, I've been playing this game a long time. I am no regard a cool person, not nerd. I am very much so the geek that likes to call people out. But when it's on me, I know it's another frickin' scenario.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait to see how many times I fucked up.
And I'm always just I'm like you, I'm a rule of cool, just the rules say this, whatever. It's funnier or better if we do it this way. But the one time I was this is harmless enough where I can razz them about this.
Absolutely.
I think.
And yeah, next episode I owe him.
Yep. Look forward to that, buddy.
Let's go, baby.
Yeah, I feel like I'm the person I think with the least D&D experience on the pod, and it's really fun to we'll play and then I'll listen back and be like, oh, that thing I did is not how that works. Like I have learned more now. And anytime I re-listen, I'm like kicking myself. I'm like, nice.
Yeah, I will say I think we still are our biggest critics, because there have been times where I've noticed I've said something or or used an ability that doesn't work that way. And I'm just like, dang it, I can't wait to get roasted in the goddamn Discord or whatever. And then no one says anything, and I'm just like, oh, okay.
Like, wow, Brandon's so succulent.
Because the people on the Discord like us. The people on the Discord want to be there. The people on Reddit
don't know that we exist
are
yet.
Fiends.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't know that we're there yet.
No.
We've received one. Shout out to anyone that listens to our pod. We have so many like glowing reviews. We received one negative review, and it's amazing. Because it's just like, this just sounds like a bunch of friends that want to make each other laugh. And I was like, man, you got me there.
Is that not the
Nail on
point?
the head.
Is that not why you make a show like this?
Yeah,
Oh,
isn't that
man.
D&D?
Yeah, right?
I'm like, nah, that's my bad. That's my bad, you guys.
Sorry for wanting to have fun?
Yeah, what?
No, so much of what I do is just like, you don't get it, but so much of it is us giving each other little looks. The whole time. In one of the episodes that just dropped, there's a beautiful scene between Christian and Dustin, because their improv chemistry is insane, and what you don't see is me like wide-eyed at Jonah, like pointing and like making gestures the whole time, like, oh my god.
I did amplify both of their me and Christian were having the scene. I amplified Jonah and Kayla's mics during that, because there's that one point
You hear me
a
just
proposal is given, and then they go, oh my god. And it's like, oh, I need that, of course.
Yeah.
Get us our live studio audience.
the live studio audience is just me going, oh shit.
I do remember that. I do remember, like, I've had a few interactions where I look over at Kayla, and Kayla's just, like, staring at me. Just, like, glaring.
Yeah, Christian's dropping these bits just for me to pick up, because I'm sitting here bullying him about it all the time. It's really fun. It's really very fun.
Let's see. Do we want to do a little fun question now?
Do it.
We got the classic.
Yeah.
Who do you hate the most? Sorry.
Who's your least favorite? No.
Who's the worst on the podcast?
Who's your favorite character, and why is it Brandon?
I think we asked in the after show, but who's your least favorite NPC? And I love hearing that stuff. So I'm like, great, they're the BBG now.
No.
If you could invite any special guest, living, dead, real, fictional, who would it be to your show?
John Cena.
Oh my god.
What an insanely hot take.
Just because we reference wrestling so much, and the amount of references Jonah has done to John Cena, like any other wrestler on there, I would love to, in reality, any wrestler, but John Cena, because I think it's like 3 episodes that I've seen Jonah like hum his theme song.
Oh, what a good answer.
Yeah, I picture just not even introducing him with any fanfare. He plays Ted's brother.
It's Tids.
Oh my god, I would love that.
God.
Yeah, we found this guy. We just found this guy on the street. His name's Jim.
Jim.
Something.
Justin.
I think he's known for Make-A-Wishes.
Yeah. Anyway, he's on our show now.
Good thing it's an audio podcast. You can't see him.
Sorry.
Took me a second to get that reference.
Jonah, Dustin, do either of y'all have an answer? Because I'm torn between a couple.
Me as well.
Nah, I'm all in on John Cena.
Okay, yeah,
You're like, I change it. That's it.
Double
That's
down.
it
Christian
now.
said my answer.
I am such a, especially with Parker, I'm really enjoying like the body horror type stuff. I love having the like little girl who looks super innocent just like absolutely contort and revolt and look terrible. So because of that, I love my man Stephen King and would love to just have a Stephen King style super scary episode. But my other answer is my real life parents, because we've talked a lot about Parker's parents and that they don't exist. And my dad does a terrible British accent. Shout out to my dad. And we just keep joking about him being the pre-recorded voice of my dad. And I think that would be really funny.
Yes.
However, my parents do not know how to play Dungeons and Dragons. Will freak out the second we put them on mic. Again, love my parents. Love them. But yeah, them or Stephen King, you know, the obvious two choices.
God, I don't even know. I was thinking like people in the D&D community.
That's fair. Then
People
Emily
that-
acts first.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Your obvious choices, and then I get John Cena and Stephen King / father. I think my main one that I was thinking of is obviously Brandon Lee Mulligan, because he can pick apart anything, and I love the praise, and I love that everyone like loves the show, but I'm really itching for those negative reviews, man.
See, I thought you were gonna say so we would have a good DM.
Oh no.
Oh, Tim's getting killed off. All
But then
right.
he did.
We're nothing if not exceptionally mean to each other, apparently.
Like I said, great relationship between the players and DM.
All right, say goodbye to Ted.
Yeah, Ted's gone now.
Series wrap on Ted Vardaman.
No, my boy.
Truly, that before episode 18, I feel like wasn't ever a possibility. But now that the game has officially started, I think people online might start to pick teams of Team Brandon, Team Ted, Team Parker. As unlikely as Team Parker might be.
Hey, fuck you.
Wow.
See, I can bite back too, bitches.
No, it's exciting. Come episode 17, I believe, there's another drastic Dustin-style plot twist that gets to pit us all a little bit against each other. Yeah, the whole game changes, you know, in true like season finale fashion. And who's to say what happens to any of the characters at this point? I don't think Dustin will just kill us off for fun.
I do.
Unless
We have the evidence. Look at episode 2.
I was about to say, yeah, like I already died twice.
I was gonna say, have we been listening to the same show?
Yeah, what show is this?
You guys are in it. Are you not? Are you sure?
I don't even listen to the show, honestly.
Truly, I think if one of these characters are gonna be killed off, it's gonna be by another player character.
Oh man.
Oh, fun.
Oof. Oof.
Ooh. I love that you guys are comfortable enough with each other to just like be like, yeah, we'll PvP and we might kill each other, whatever.
It's so fun though, because I remember there's an episode where I just freaking go off on Christian. Parker gets so pissed at Brandon, and then we stopped recording, and it was like, "You good? You good? Yeah, that was fun. Like, let's go again."
Yeah, it felt tense, and I was really like, I really hope these guys are really good, and they're just playing the really good role that they are, and no actual feelings are getting hurt. And then we ended it, and everybody like said, "Oh fuck, that was great." And I was like,
Bro, that was so
"Oh thank
fun."
God! Oh my God, thank God! I don't need to establish an HR department yet. Awesome.
I'm the opposite of them. I channel my real life angst directly into Ted
What,
to
Ted
create a
Vardaman?
vivid
No.
image of teenage mood swings.
Yeah, I do. After the last episode we recorded, I had to check in with Jonah. I was like, "Was that too mean?" He's like, "No, you're good." I was like, "Okay."
I get so pissy when we're actually playing, though. It's fucking hilarious. Be sitting there with this big ass fucking cartoonish frown on my face.
I mean, I think that's a lot like when we lost 30 minutes of audio, and I got really pissed. Like in the time, I was truly, honestly upset, and I really didn't want to record. But it came to be such a good episode just because of the antithesis of personalities on the mic at the time. It was just, I think, I'm an avid believer of conflict creates good story. If it is real, it brings together a more satisfying light versus like we're pretending and we're role-playing and this, that, and the other, which is still good and I believe can still create a good product in the end. But if it's real and it's actually happening, it feels different, and it's going to invoke the audience to feel a different way at the end of the episode.
You're funny, because, like, I think Kayla, have more fun the worse it gets for our characters. Something happened in one of the recent episodes, and I was like, cool, I can play this, like, really chill and kind of get out of it. I'm like, or I can make this about as terrible as it can be, because it'll be really fun for the plot and the story. And I was like, oh, yeah, let's make this harder on us. Like, let's make this goofy.
I think some of the most fun I've had on the podcast has us trying to figure out how we can make the natural ones that much funnier.
Oh my God.
Because I know, because you know, when I play with other people, some people get really upset about their natural ones, or they feel like, oh man, I'm rolling so bad, I don't want to play anymore. But I feel like with us, it has been always like, okay, I rolled a natural 1. Now, how can I make this the most entertaining as I possibly can?
Well, I rolled a natural 1 on an insight, and it became like my favorite bit in like 5 episodes. Because I was like, I think this bad guy might be a good guy. And
I'm gonna eat your face. I'm gonna fucking eat you.
It was really, really fun.
Natural 1. You can fix him.
Yeah. Literal. It's gonna be great, you guys. Commit to the bit.
I think my favourite natural 1 for Parker is when you were trying to kick in a door and you rolled a natural 1, but because of your strength, it was a -2.
Yeah, I was like, I fractured my ankle.
I forgot about that.
Oh, or was the door unlocked and just like pushed open?
It was
a pull, not a push.
That's what I get. I had no business trying to kick down a door.
Yeah, because I think I do remember because you did that. You were like on the ground wailing, and then I walked over you and pulled out the door and walked
rolled
in.
over a 2? Yeah, it's a pull.
I roll an insane amount of nat 1s. There's one episode where I roll a nat 1 to do something that I really wanted to do, used a reroll to do it again, and rolled a second nat 1. I was like, this one, not in the cards.
Like, it's not happening. The dice say no.
Yeah, I was like, well, this is going to fuel me emotionally. Like, that's the biz.
I do love how much you embrace the nat 1s or the low rolls. You just go with it. And you just not, you can tell it's something that you've all decided, okay, if we get a nat 1, we're going to go with it. And we're not going to get upset about it or anything like that. We're just going to, it's just going to carry on.
Yeah, because a lot of our natural 1s have also been like very pivotal moments in the story.
That's true.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes it just changes what's going to happen in that. Like, what was supposed to happen, and it just pivots completely to a different direction.
We roll bad for the plot.
Yeah, we were totally rolling bad on purpose.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the pitches for the title of the show was for the plot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for the plot.
Wow. I pitched for the plot, I think. Because that sounds like something
I didn't think Magic Isn't Real was going to be the title, I'm going to be honest.
But yeah, you pitched it and we all giggled, and then that was the title.
And then that was it, and I was like, all right, I guess.
I guess we're rolling
it makes
with
sense.
it.
I mean.
Were there any other pitched title ideas that almost made it but didn't?
Ooh, I really liked. We ended up using it as our subtitle, but I really liked Almost a Hero's Journey.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's our, because where Magic Isn't Real, Almost a Hero's Journey, actually a D&D TTRPG podcast. I'm trying to remember if there are any other ones.
I remember Dice Tower of Babel.
That's
was one of
really
the ones
like
I
Dice
really
Tower.
liked. I think it might actually be a thing, or we just didn't go with it.
I liked like you walk into it, you meet in a tavern or something like that, but I think that was already a thing.
That was the one that was already a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like, at least for me, the Magic Isn't Real. It just stood out so much for whatever reason.
It was a unanimous vote.
Yeah, it was like we all heard it and we were like, yep, that's it. Yeah. That's the show.
I will say, you guys nailed it. It's a very catchy title. I saw it on TikTok and I was like, all right.
It's terrible for what's it called? SEO.
For SEO.
Yeah, we're terrible for SEO. Yeah, you Google Magic Isn't Real and like 100 things come up before us.
I think there's literally like a magician's podcast that pops up before us. I think on Spotify, if you haven't listened to our podcast before, I think there was some other podcast that come up with that.
Yeah, we might be the number 1 for podcasts now, but if you just Google Magic Isn't Real, you're not gonna find us.
Yeah. I'm
I will say, I am also similarly bad at SEO stuff. We named this show after a bard subclass in D&D.
Yes.
Like, we're never gonna get seen.
Oh my god.
Are you just now getting this bit?
Yes, I don't play a lot of bards. I didn't play a lot of bards.
You owe me a D&D
What a failure.
Yeah.
It's going to be the next question.
I named the show that because it was like, oh, we're on the Bard Rock Cafe, like the Bard Rock Network.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a sub show of the Bard Rock Network. It's gonna be like a subclass, haha.
That's fun.
No, it's really fun.
Yeah, I do like it.
Who cares about Google?
Yeah, Google's not important.
Don't know her.
Never met her.
Who is she?
But yeah, like I'm cursed with SEO because like my other show, my home actual play show, Wayfaring Strangers, I named it that because I was like, oh, we'll just like name it like the song, and when people search the song, they'll find the podcast. Turns out they just find the song. Crazy, right?
Yeah, that's Marketing is hard.
Marketing is hard.
Oh my god.
But that's one of our things. It's like the people that find the show love it.
Our retention rate's really good.
Yeah, and I mean, it's that end all, like, I'd rather be 9 people's favorite thing than 100 people's 9th favorite thing. Like,
That's truly what keeps me going. I wouldn't keep doing this if there wasn't, like, people in the Discord that are really, really...
like, when's the next episode
emphatic
coming
about,
out?
Yeah, really wanting to see more. And I'm going to be honest, guys, there's been a couple times where I've been like, maybe this thing isn't for us. Maybe that this podcast isn't going to survive simply because we have to live in the real world and there's bills to be paid and I have to go to work and then I come home to do more work for the podcast. But truly just seeing the people's good, honest reviews and how much they enjoy certain aspects of the show makes me feel like this truly is worth it.
And, you know, I think this is something that, you know, I know like D&D, first and foremost, it's about having fun, you know? And I feel like, you know, the reason why I enjoy doing this so much is because, you know, we are literally just, you know, a group of friends having fun. Because even if we weren't doing this for a podcast, I would still commit every Saturday to come out here and, you know, and play along. So, and I think that very much translates into the show because, you know, yeah, we could be more professional. We could, you know, not try to talk over each other. We could do all these other things. But then it's not really friends having fun. It's more of us doing a professional thing. And even though we are trying to make it a little, you know, we're trying to make it professional, making it, you know, like sound good, and that's still in mind. It's not the main focus to the point that it changes how we interact with each other.
That's the thing. Like, I know really early on we talked about, like, what it means to make a podcast and tell a story and all that. And it's like, yeah, I guess a bunch of, like, professional actor writers could be doing this, but honestly, like, the friendship and camaraderie, like, you can tell how much fun we're having. And I think that's what makes the show endearing. Even, like, yeah, I'm, like, I'm losing it when I tried to DM the one time. And I go back and I listen, and I'm like, man, everyone is having so much fun. Like, it's even fun to listen to me, like, freak out at Dustin. Like, you can tell we're all having a good time. And, like, when we hang out, like, this is a group of people I hang out with. Like, it's not work. It's never been work. It's like, guys, let's play some D&D and record it. And then Dustin will make us sound really good later. And that's, like... yeah, that's the freaking best.
Yeah, because if we're not recording for the show, we're talking about the show, and we're talking about the excitement of what could happen in the show.
I did accidentally, in like the most recent episode we had come out, I was doing like some monologuing, and I referred to Brandon as Christian.
Oh, yeah.
And there was no way to cut around it.
I brought Christian back to life. Wait,
yeah.
what?
I was like, I helped Christian out. That's the only bummer. It's like, oh, I am a little bit too close to y'all. Because I think Jonah called me Parker or something once in like an after show too. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, but like we're freaking friends. It's gonna happen sometimes.
Magic isn't real. We're frickin' friends.
We're frickin' friends.
We're frickin' friends, man.
That should be your subtitle.
This is just my attempt to censor myself a little bit.
Do we have any other fun questions that we want to get through?
Oh. Should we check?
On to the unfun question.
What's your
We've done the
greatest
unfun
regret?
questions.
Boring stuff.
What is the meaning of life?
42.
Please tell me, Parker Henley, the meaning of life.
42.
That is such a 14-year-old girl answer. I love it.
I think Parker read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. My favorite, no one liked it because it's such a niche joke for me, but I pitch almost all of the episode titles. And one that I recently pitched was So Long and Thanks for the Fish Camp. And that's just a hitchhiker's... Yeah, and I was like, no one's gonna want this but me. And I was giggling over it all day. I was like, So Long and Thanks for the Fish Camp. And everyone's like, no, let's go with the one that makes sense. And I was like, fine, okay, whatever.
Whatever.
Kayla's the best at that. She's the best at laughing at her own jokes.
I think I'm hilarious.
Listen, if you can't laugh at yourself, who's going to laugh with you? You know what I mean?
So Dustin does this really cute thing that endlessly upsets me, where Dustin refuses to edit out any of my laughs in the show. So you just hear constant, I'll try and get through a sentence and then I'll stop and giggle for like 5 minutes. And then I'll go back and he's like, I'm not cutting it. And I'm like, because the whole pod is me laughing at my own jokes in a way that's maybe not so endearing all the time, but is very honest.
Yeah, up to episode 18, there is not a moment in which a Kayla laugh is cut. I don't know, since we've hired new editors onto the team, but up to that point, absolutely everything that happened there was your authentic laugh.
Yeah.
I want to keep that in.
Anytime I helped, I cut as many of them as I could.
Yeah. See, I'm very different from Kayla in that anytime I start laughing before I'm about to say something, you know it's about to get cut.
Jonah, here is my I have one singular bone to pick with Jonah, and it's that he has never found any of us funny. I'll go back and listen, and everyone will laugh, and Jonah will be silent. But then you'll hear him, he's laughing, he's just laughing off mic and like trying to be conscientious of all of us.
That, or it'll
Makes
be...
it sound like I don't give a shit about any of
It'll
y'all.
be like a 2-second pause after. And like I think you said one time you get in your own head about it's a podcast, I can't laugh, and just fucking laugh. You make us seem so.
When we get a Jonah laugh though, and it's loud and on mic, it's so worth it.
Glorious. It's like I've won the day. Oh my god, it's a real achievement.
See, we did it!
See, there it is. Look at that. We got one.
Versus I'm like ambient noise, small laugh, just in the background giggling all the time.
I'm just constantly loud.
Christian's our supportive king.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
I'll make the worst joke imaginable and Christian will laugh at it.
No matter what, Christian always.
I'm
laughs.
just
It
having
makes
a
me
good
feel so
time.
See, as a fellow cheap laugh, I'm always there for.
Oh no, not cheap
I'm
laugh.
always there for a good time. I mean, you'll hear it like because I don't cut myself out when I'm sitting here just giggling my head off. Anybody can say anything. I'm just sitting there going.
Yeah. It's because you're having fun.
Exactly.
I'm having a great time. I love this show. I love getting to talk to like fellow creators and just seeing like their stance on things and where it like matches with how I feel about the medium and like I don't know. I just like talking to people.
Oh my god, bro! I'm about to marry you right now. You are speaking my language.
I'm just out here laughing through bits and ruining the jokes. That's my...
Same. Aren't we all?
Aren't we all?
No, just endlessly happy to be here. There's nothing more fun than freaking playing Dungeons and Dragons and TTRPGs and hanging out with friends and talking about Dungeons and Dragons and TTRPGs. Much to the annoyance of my friends that don't play.
Yeah,
and they're like, oh my god, can we discuss anything?
That's something I really wanted to be important to the show, at the start at least, is like I wanted to bring people in that don't listen to TTRPG podcasts or people who don't know the D&D lingo to come in and listen and be like, oh, this is just a story. And that's truly what I want this to be at the core, is I don't want you to have to learn every single mechanic. I want you to be able to listen and be immersed in the world. Yeah. And I think up to this point, it's been to that vision, and I really, really appreciate all the support that's been coming behind it.
And
the dice are a supplement.
Oh
yeah,
they're not.
We're a very honest podcast. We really, I mean, we've had to re-record very few things.
Just the once.
Yeah, it's like, well, these are the roles we got. This is the thing that happened. Even though it is for entertainment purposes, we really don't self-edit all that much, which is maybe to our detriment, but I think it lends to authenticity in a way that I personally really appreciate.
Yeah, I just think people can smell bullshit a mile away, and if you re-record and make it seem more narratively driven and less impulsive, people are going to know, and it's going to not seem as like I'm sitting there at the table with them, and more like, oh, I'm listening to an informal podcast.
Well, and I think that's a lot of the charm of the medium is that, like, you get a lot of stories that don't play out like you would expect, like a movie or a book or a TV show to play out, because it's, beholden to rolls of the dice and just pure chance.
Right.
And, just, there are times and places where like re-recording stuff is okay to do, especially if it's like you listen back and you go, ooh, this is like not even fun or good to listen to. Then that's like a discussion that you can have. But it's
I think we can talk about this. Can we talk about the murder pit?
Yeah, we
What
can talk
happened
about the
there?
murder
Oh,
pit.
that's right. There was one time we did actually screw ourselves over and have to go back and re-record.
That was the one time I was thinking of.
I forgot about that.
We made the whole thing, but it was another situation where I was being too nice. And it happened. We finished the session, and Jonah said, I call bullshit. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
really? Let's talk about that. And I agreed with everything. I think that every decision we make needs to be not only authentic to your characters, but mine as well. And I need to be held accountable. And the king of the murder pit let them out, as opposed to being like, oh, these guys aren't cooperating anymore, they're not putting on a show, let's kill them and that's our entertainment. And instead I just said, okay, they've given us a show enough, I guess 3 people can exit victorious, you 3. And we ended it, and we just had to re-record because it wasn't really authentic, it wasn't really realistic. And I felt much better after that recording, because I should have had more faith in the players. Should have been able to realize that they can get themselves out of this situation.
I don't remember exactly how it went down, but yeah, I do remember we recorded it and then we were like, that wasn't fun.
Yeah, it wasn't really a satisfying ending because I think I just handed it off too easy. Damn it, Jonah.
Number 2, Jonah dropping something for the second time.
Mixing it up.
We gotta stop relentlessly bullying Jonah.
No,
today.
I'm not going to stop bullying him till he stops dropping stuff on recordings. Like, it happens every time. It's all good, buddy. I love you.
That's their dynamic, though. They fight for like 7 episodes straight, and they're like, do you want to carpool?
How are you getting home?
Oh, my.
You want to grab food after this? Or
Yeah, exactly. Oh, my God. I will say, now that you brought that up, I do love the dynamic between our characters. I think there's very, very fun.
Yeah, it's getting to a pretty good spot.
Yeah, so I think we did a really, it wasn't on purpose. We didn't really discuss it, but I think we picked such a different variety of personalities to play as that it's very entertaining to see, when Parker and Ted go off on their own and see, how they interact, because they are so much more similar, as opposed to, me and Parker go off, and now there's, this whole different dynamic because we just have such contrasting personalities.
Well, it's so crazy because me and Jonah actually built our characters at the same time. We went to a pub with Dustin, and he had us answer 100 questions, and our pet peeves were things that directly related to the other person. Parker's was when people aren't clean, and Ted's was when people take for granted a good family life or something like that.
Because he's a sad boy.
Yeah, and then I pitched this character who's really beholden to her grandparents who love her dearly, and Ted's I am a sweaty, sweaty boy. And they met, and Parker was you're my best friend now. And that was really funny. That was not how I anticipated that to play out. But then it was because Brandon gets downed so fast.
Yeah, I think that was the big one.
We trauma bonded.
I mean, it's the big star being shot down. It's you've been the shit on Earth, but now that you're not in a place where you're the king.
Yeah. As I said, I do remember that. That was the incident that I remember you and Ted bonding over really quick, because you were like, all right, we got to help Brandon.
We're like, oh shit, this kid just died. It's bro, I was at school 45 seconds ago.
Yeah. And I feel like that's a point where I really got to pat you guys on the back, because in an average D&D session, people would just be like, oh, this doesn't really have real life consequences for me, so I'm just going to, play it off as nonchalant as I can so I can be a cool character. And I think the coolest characters are the ones that don't play it like that. I think you guys have been absolutely expertly navigating these scenarios in a way that is so authentic to the character, but also makes it so freaking nice for me to bounce off of.
I mean, it's cool that our characters really care about each other.
Yeah.
Whether or not we are good at expressing it. Or
Just like teenagers.
Just like
Yeah.
teenagers, yep.
we're having a really hard time, as teenagers, navigating our relationships with each other, and what that means with the world. But at the end of the day, they do all really care, and have and will take bullets for each other over and over and over again.
Yeah, I love it so much. I love the show. It's so good. But the dynamics is what I really like it for. I love I am a big sucker of when two characters just have a second to talk to each other one-on-one.
Yeah.
Because I feel like them bouncing off of each other, you learn so much from both of them in those, even if it's just like 5 minutes. It's just, you learn so much from two personalities just talking to each other, and then them going back to a group dynamic, and then maybe kind of like putting that away to the side because something more important is going on. And I think that's just really cool. And one of my favorite ones was just when you and Parker and Ted have a lot of alone time together. I love that so much.
It's really fun to RP because Jonah's like one of my best friends. We've known each other forever, so we just kind of like shoot the shit for 10 minutes. But we're terrible for the plot. We're so terribly bad for the plot because we're like, whatever, Jonah will say something that'll make me laugh, and then it's done for like 10 minutes. I'm like, yeah, let's hard pivot to whatever it was you said. Like, Jonah's like, do you think this is a costume party? And I'm like, absolutely, I believe whatever you say. Like, who cares about the plot? We're going shopping. Which is really fun. But yeah, we didn't get to have a scene together, Parker and Brandon, until like episode 5 or something like that. We didn't speak until and then ends up being like a really randomly poignant conversation.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite moments was when we first got to talk. And we were so awkward about it.
So awkward. The whole time it's like, you think Ted's doing okay?
Yeah. And I love it for that.
Yeah, but I look forward to growing all the character relationships. That's what I'm in it for.
On a bit of a behind-the-scenes note, I like to talk to shows about music as a musician. So I wanna get to know a little bit more about like your guys' editing process and the music that you choose and use for the show.
That is a question straightly directed to Dustin.
But before Dustin launches in, our dear friend Jake the Dead did our theme music, and it was phenomenal. And I think Dustin just sent him like a lot of different audio samples and was like, something like this, and then Jake pulled out the absolute banger of all time.
I think someone described it as the Tony Hawk Pro Skater music, and I was like, "That's the biggest compliment that you can give."
Amazing.
Yeah, so
it is.
props to Jake.
It's the trumpets that give it that kind of like ska feel.
Yeah, I said bonus if you can add trumpets into it, just because I know that's a big part of like what I wanted. Because when I think of like high school band, I think of brass. I think of like when you're going to the football games and you see all of that shine come out on the football field to play a song, and it's very like brings you back to that place in my head personally. In terms of other music and like background we have a subscription service that we use to pull everything across. I like to keep a smaller list of music, but I know the more places we go and the more type of environments we see, I'm going to be pulling a different variety of what fits this scene specifically versus we have to keep it consistent. I like that there is like a specific like 3 songs that we could play and people are like, oh, Magic Isn't Real. But I have to be less insistent on consistency because we actually don't have the musicians to make it ourselves, and we're just using the free, royalty-free stuff that we can do off of this service that we have.
But yeah, if we could hire Jake full time.
God, that would be awesome. He'd be so happy.
I would be so insanely happy.
Yeah, literally can't stop singing his praises. Freaking crushed it.
For sure. Like the intro gave me this idea. We're on episode 9 of this show now, and pretty much every show that we've done has had like their own custom like theme music for the most part. And it makes me want to do this like little segment, just like a one-off episode maybe, where I just grab some people and just go, okay, I'm going to play these songs and you have to tell me what podcast it's from. And I feel like maybe there's just not enough people that have listened to like this exact like group of shows.
Right, very niche.
Yeah. It's so crazy because I can literally hear it in my head right now as we're talking about it.
I mean, I listen quasi-religiously to like 2-3 D&D podcasts, and I get those intro songs stuck in my head. I'm like, that's my stuff right there. I love a good podcast intro. And I think ours just sounds like a party. And I think it is a party.
It is a party.
Yeah.
I will say it did give me like comparisons to another D&D show. It reads very Dungeons and Daddies.
I am so into that show.
When I was first like doing preliminary research before my listen through of the show, I was like, oh, this show's gonna read very much like similarly to that show. And then I was very pleasantly surprised to find that I was wrong, and this is something very unique and cool.
It was crazy because Dustin pitched me the concept for our show a long time ago, and at the time I was listening to Dungeons and Daddies season 1. And then I got to Dungeons and Daddies season 2, and I was like, oh my god, they're both about high schoolers. Like, oh no, we're in so much trouble. And then it panned out in a way that was totally so different. Yeah. I was like, hey babe, these are going to be similar. And then we recorded and they weren't.
Watch this.
Up there with like some of the best theme music of all time, Dungeons and Daddies.
I will say, I do not listen to a lot of TTRPG podcasts because I'm constantly listening to and editing my own and being like, okay, I need to edit at this point in there as I'm like driving to work, and I'm like, okay, I need to edit 5 minutes, 30 seconds, So I have no time to actually listen to other podcasts anymore, and it sucks. But the two that I only really listened to was NatPod and Dungeons and Daddies. And Dungeons and Daddies, I think, is the one that really made me want to do this because I think they're a huge inspiration to me. Not saying that like I'm going to steal everything they work for, but I think they have a beautiful way of establishing creative writing in a D&D setting, and how everyone can still have a hand in the story without being the DM. And I just really, really appreciate the way that they give everyone agency, and it makes for a very, very good story.
Yeah, their music is amazing. I love their theme.
I love their intros.
Stop. Copyright, babe.
Come on now.
Are they copyrighted?
I don't know, maybe. It's very, very good theme music.
Anthony,
though.
if you're listening to this, is it copyrighted?
Don't let us know.
Anthony, if you're listening to this, hop on our show.
Yeah, we love you.
We want to talk to you.
On ours, I mean,
No
please.
Ideal. Honestly, when you were like
That
talking
was
about
the
ideal
two I
guests,
was going in between is Anthony Birch
Yeah, I
and
was like-
Brennan Lee Mulligan.
I know we're quasi-inspired by them, but I think regular show was our biggest thematic inspiration. Shout out to regular
I see
show.
why.
Well, we're going to be talking about...
Speaking of great intros.
Yeah, oh yeah, for real.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Let's see. What have we not talked about? This is the nice thing about having like guests and guests that are like the whole cast is like I can ask one question at the beginning of the show and they'll just go off and talk to themselves.
20 minutes later.
And
I think you've only said
you like answer
3
all our
things up to this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, the trick is to get us to shut up. That's the option.
Yeah, if you can't tell, this is our first interview. So if we go on for quite longer than we should, please feel free to cut us off.
Yes, please. Do whatever needs to be done. You can just look at us and be like, hey, you're up here. I need you to be down here.
I mean, I talked about this with our guests last month where I'm like, you know, if I am given too much space, I'll just keep talking. Like that one character in The Office that's like, oh, nobody's ever let me talk this long, so I don't know like what I'm saying.
That is my tragic flaw as a D&D character.
Right.
If no one cuts me off, I just keep going.
So, okay, you guys record in person. We've established this. Do you guys do like just one episode at a time for your recording sessions, or do you go in like batches?
I think we talked about doing batches at some point, but this was still at the phase where it was like I was our editing team. and we were doing like 2-hour episodes at that time. We've done both. I think right now we're sticking to one episode at a time, listen to the episode drop, and then we go on.
And also, like, poor Dustin, because he'll be like, I know exactly how this next episode's gonna go. And we'll be like, no, you don't. And just absolutely ruin it.
I don't say that anymore.
Yeah, and then his prep is shot for the next episode, so it's become a lot easier. I know we recorded 8 and 9 was supposed to be one episode, but it was just so long we broke it into 2. In a couple of them we did batch record in pairs of 2, but it was like, oh man, we're playing for so long. And that was when we were really early into it, and we decided that just doing one at a time was probably the way to go.
Yeah, seriously, my notes are useless by this point. Shout out to Tracy, the shop clerk in Home Alone, that taught us improv our 3rd year of college. Because if I didn't have half of the skills that I have now to just think on my feet, this show wouldn't go on. Truly, this is just up to what can you do when you're thrown a wrench, and I'm just so happy. Mrs. Tachansky. It's the one I always talk about when I had like seriously a plan of there are paths that you can follow. There are like I made like a big graph of like over like 80 different possible entries to 80 possible final destinations that they could have gotten to by the end of them running away from this tracker by this person trying to kill Reese. And they said, no, on the first choice for a moment, I said left or right, and they said straight. They said, we're going to jump into a car. And it's truly changed the way that I've been seeing this group and how they can challenge me, and it's fantastic. It always comes out fantastic.
Yeah, you can't give us 2 options.
No.
We'll make a 3rd.
Yeah.
And it's always good.
Vicky, do you have anything else?
I was going to say, normally we ask, do you have any advice for budding GMs? But I want to throw it open. I want to open it up to be like, do you have any advice for budding, like, people who want to play TTRPGs? And just throw it out to everybody.
I think I got one.
I've got some wisdom to impart.
Impart your wisdom. I want to hear.
I'll impart my wisdom. The thing that held me back the most when I started playing was that I was really afraid to roll bad. And it wasn't until I started listening to D&D podcasts that I was like, oh shoot, it can be really fun when you roll bad.
Yes.
And just to like accept and embrace that. Also, and I'll die on this hill, there is nothing wrong with building your character off of a bit. Like, find one thing that you want to play.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I like to go in with not a ton of character prep and just find and discover it, and that's okay. Like, for this, I was like, I'm allergic to a lot of stuff. I live with my grandparents, and if I go to a party, I'm talking to dogs the entire time and not the people at the party.
Okay.
And you find everything else. So just, like, don't be afraid to, like, role play really hard, and don't be afraid to roll really bad. Because you're gonna, and, like, I'd get embarrassed. It's not embarrassing. It's a dice. And then just take it in stride and have fun with it.
I want to say this because I know, Dustin, you have brought it up a couple times, but your DM is not always your enemy. He is, we are all making a story together, and it is, I think we all fall, as players, and I'm only speaking as a player because I've never really DM'd before, so I have no idea what that side of it is.
Don't do it, it's so hard.
Yeah, right? I've heard. But, I feel like as a player, you get into this mentality of like, your DM gives you this obstacle, and you have to try to do everything you can to, like, beat the DM. But, we are all making a story together. And if you inform your DM of, like, things you want to do and things where you want to take your character as, they will work with you, and it'll make that story go that much better. I mean, I feel like at this point, Dustin has such a good grasp on what I enjoy and where I want to take my character that half of the stuff that he throws at me, we don't even discuss. And we kind of just roll with it together because he knows exactly where I want to end up, and I know exactly how Dustin plays at this point, that we can literally just, at the second he throws something at me, I can just bounce off of him immediately. And that's just because, we discussed it before. We have discussed about, this is where I want to take my character, this is where I want it to end. And you got to understand that he's not your enemy, he's there to make the story fun for you. So just work with your DMs. They're not there to be against you, they're there with you. What, you gonna cry on me now?
That was
Please
amazing.
don't cry on me, because I will cry.
Everywhere. Jonah, you have anything?
Maybe, yeah. Like Kayla talked about something I was going to bring up, which is, when you're making a character, it's good to leave a lot of blank spots, a lot of holes that are open to, be filled while you're actually playing, because it's very hard to think of an entire fully fledged character concept before you actually play with it. And two, I just think it's more enjoyable to not have to do that prep work beforehand. But also, like, for people who are first starting out and playing TTRPGs, sometimes you can look at, specifically D&D's 12 class system and find it a little constricting compared to the vast amount of different archetypes you can find in, like, TV shows or movies or video games. But when I create a character, I always try to break the idea of a class down into its most very basic components. So like Ted being a bard, he doesn't really do a lot of things that bards are usually associated with in D&D, but I tried to think of some oddball connections that you could draw between a wacko kid who's really, really into pro wrestling theatrics and a traditional loot-wielding D&D bard. And, flavor, I like to say, is free, so almost every DM, if you work with, and you approach them and say, hey, I have this really interesting concept, can we reflavor a lot of existing mechanics into things that look or feel more like this? You'll get a lot more reception with that than I think you would coming out with, like, hey, can I do this weird homebrew mechanics, or hey, can I, have these special accommodations, because it helps me, realize my character.
I was so excited when you were handed our harmonica in like episode 2 or 3.
Yes.
I was like, oh, I can't wait to see where this bit goes.
Absolutely rejects it utterly.
In the trash. Give me a bullhorn.
It shows
and I
up
said,
a couple
you know what? This is
times.
I
better.
bought a nice harmonica for Jonah.
Yeah.
I have never seen it. I haven't seen it since.
The harmonica
is true.
does show up a couple times, usually to punctuate a really good bit or like a really sad moment.
It's
I
got
use
a
it in
nice
lieu of
case.
a
It's made of
slide
stainless
whistle.
Steel. Never fucking seen it. Not a day in my life after that.
I have it framed in my apartment.
Don't you feel mean now?
Don't you feel silly?
No, I don't, because I've been to his apartment. It ain't there. I'll tell you
Yeah,
that.
no, absolutely. At the time, I was like, what the fuck do you think I am, Neil Young? Get this shit out of here.
I can't wait to watch this arc of Jonah actually learning the harmonica, and then he shows up in like episode 50 with the crazy solo.
Masterful performance.
That's our season finale. Jonah plays us out on the harmonica.
Oh my god. You need to learn
Just
the
plays
song.
the intro on
theme.
harmonica.
Yeah, you gotta learn the theme, bro. Well,
Oh, no.
you got homework now.
Sorry, Jonah.
I think most of the advice I can really give is in the world of DMing, and people who just are coming to the world of TTRPGs are going to be players and going to be sheltered into that sort of role. The way that I was brought up with D&D was I started in middle school, and it was very much like this is a video game, and this is like a video game brought to paper, and everyone's trying to make their biggest, baddest, most cool characters. And I think now I cannot play a character if they have all positive stats. It will not be an enjoyable experience for me, because I think that it's great to not only see your character evolve in terms of power and ability, but in terms of character, there are certain aspects that you can't get if someone's good at everything. Back to enjoy those nat ones, find moments where that character can be vulnerable and can mess up. Conflict is the greatest creator of story, and I think that you can't really be the best player for your DM's narrative if you can't embrace failure.
God, I love the indie.
I love it. I love this show. You guys are great.
Stop it.
Yeah, we've had a lot of people come on the show and go, I was waiting for you to just like rip us apart, and it's like, A, we're not going to do that because it's bad
What
to
a
just like burn bridges with fellow creators.
Concept. Hey, come on our show. We're gonna talk mad shit about you the whole time.
Post it online.
It's gonna roast you.
We've only been like harsh, I think, on one show, and that was just because I think it just didn't fit like what I was looking for at the time for like shows to cover, maybe. But I say harsh, it still was like, hey, these guys are great, but here's like one or two things that I was like, kind of took me out.
Yeah.
But I love talking to people and knowing that they're so passionate about the thing that they're doing. There's nothing bad that I could ever have to say about, another a show like this. But yeah, that's Magic Isn't Real. Do you guys want to give us a quick social plug? I can throw some links in. I'll throw some links in the show notes because I've been told I need to do that more.
Been told off.
First of all, just thank you so much for having us on.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's been great to talk with y'all and just get a chance to kind of rave about this process with other TTRPG lovers. When it comes to finding us, we're on any podcast site at just Magic Isn't Real. Other than that, our social media is different for every single platform because Magic Isn't Real podcast is a long handle. So really check us out on Twitter at Magic Isn't Real PD. And I'm happy to be on there and answer any questions. You might have everything is linked in our show description, so just find us at Magic Isn't Real anywhere you listen to podcasts.
And remember, marshals are the best class.
Okay.
I will stand my marshals. I will stand my marshals till the end of time.
We don't stand with his opinions. He doesn't speak for the company.
Views expressed are my own. Well, that's going to do it for this month at College of Whispers. We just want to do one final thank you to the cast of Magic Isn't Real
thank you.
for appearing. Next month, we will actually be taking a month off because I feel like we need a month off.
Well-deserved break.
God, I feel that.
Yeah.
And then we will be back in April with our 10th episode. We made it double digits.
Double digits. We did it.
Where we will be talking to the cast of Dice Company. But until then, thank you for listening to College of Whispers. May your backlog grow ever shorter.
I love that. I love that so much.
Thanks for listening to College of Whispers. Our intro and outro song is Everything by Winter Wayfarer. Check them out on all major streaming platforms. You can find College of Whispers on social media at all the relevant places listed in the show notes. College of Whispers is a Bard Rock Network production. Learn more about the network in the show notes and on social media. Thank you for checking out our show. As a reminder, we're part of Bard Rock Network, who you can support by checking out our sponsor, Dragon Master Games. Support our local game store, get yourself some TTRPG essentials, and help the network produce some more excellent content. It really makes a difference. Our show and all the other shows on Bard Rock Network wouldn't be possible without the support of people like you on our Patreon and Ko-fi. That's why we like to thank supporters who pledge above a certain tier at the end of network productions. This month's top supporters are Sarah, Queen, Viralore, Khadijah, Marty, and Paul. Thank you all so much for supporting the network. If you want to get shoutouts and other rewards, pledge on our Patreon or Ko-fi today. Links in the show notes.